Hello everyone, it's ProTrader7 here today, and today I'm back with another Anniversaries of Gaming Legends video, and this time I'll be focusing on a Metroid series. This is a series that I'm very familiar with since Metroid Prime in terms of gameplay, and without further ado, let's get into it. The Metroid series centres around Samus Aran, a bounty hunter, and she's a bit of a badass, and what she does, she goes around the galaxy fighting evil space pirates who are trying to get their hands on the Metroid so they can use them to create weapons that will help them conquer the galaxy. So that's the basic gist really. So now that I've told you about the basic gist of the Metroid series, let's go into the history of it. The first Metroid game was released in Japan on the 6th of August 1986 for the Famicom, and then over a year later on the 15th of August 1987 on the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. Then finally in Europe on the 15th of January 1988 was also released for the NES. Metroid was Nintendo's first sci-fi action-adventure shooter game, but creating its own genre years later is known as Metroidvanias. This spouted numerous games such as Hollow Knight and The Great Ori on the Xbox. After the success of the first Metroid game, Nintendo decided to develop the second one for the Game Boy. It was called Metroid 2 The Return of Samus, which followed the same premise, but it was a bit scaled down due to the Game Boy's limited space. And this game got a much needed remake in 2017 for the 3DS. Known as Metroid Samus Returns, and that game was a much needed revamp. And in 1994, the third installment in the Metroid series was released, Metroid 3, or it's better known as Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. What can I say about this game? It is awesome, and I am playing through it at the moment. I am having a time of my life. What it did is took the elements of the first two games and redefined them in such a way where it's playable for hours. I think this game is absolutely awesome, and it sort of like steered the direction of the Metroid franchise, and it's every single Metroid game since the 2D ones, might I add. But oddly enough, throughout the N64 era, Metroid sort of like took a backseat in Nintendo's catalogue of games, which is quite disappointing for us Metroid fans, to be honest. But as I said at the beginning of this video, I didn't come into it till Metroid Prime, which is the next bit. But before I get into all that, what I can say is Metroid 4 was released for the Game Boy Advance, or is better known as Metroid Fusion, in 2002. This is direct continuation from Super Metroid, and this game focuses on the X-Parasite, which is a parasite that can mimic living things that it comes into contact with. Well, it basically kills off the life form and replaces it. But in Metroid Fusion, Samus recovers from it and it helps her power the suit. A few months after Metroid 4 or Metroid Fusion, those who were paying attention know what I'm talking about, the first 3D Metroid game was released for the Nintendo GameCube, Metroid Prime, and what I must say is one of my most favourite Metroid titles out there. It basically took all the elements from the 2D games and put them into 3D basically, and it's very much alive. You feel very much part of it, and the view of the angle, as you can see in the video, is from Samus's helmet, so you can see her as you're looking out into the world through her helmet, which is quite good really. And with the success of Metroid Prime for the GameCube, a sequel was inevitable in the style of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and dare I say, this was brilliant as well. It sort of like has a two-layer world to it, a dark world and a light world. And not long after the Wii launch, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption was released for the Wii, and this utilised the actual controls for the Wii nunchuck and remote. It made it feel like it's more immersive, this title. I thought this was brilliant. Nice little, nice little inclusion from Retro Studios developing this game, and it makes it, I think it's the best one in the trilogy, to be honest. And a year or two down the line, Nintendo decided to release the Metroid Prime trilogy as a bundle together in one package. It has Metroid Prime 1, 2 and 3. But this time they've been revamped using the motion controls, which added that extra depth of gameplay to the series. And dare I say, give it a bit more life, really. And over a year after the Metroid Prime trilogy released for the Wii, a new Metroid game was released called Metroid Other M. This is like what's the best way to put this game? A 2.5D Metroid game, but in a third-person perspective. If that makes any sense. So it took all the elements of the original 2D games, but put them in a 3D setting. If that, just to make it clearer. This game got a lot of flack, and dare I say, I think it's undeservedly so, because Team Ninja, the developers of this game, wanted to create something different, and to me, I think they pulled it off very well, but I reckon a lot of people in the comment section will be saying something different. But I do honestly think Metroid Other M deserves a bit more respect than what it usually gets. Or it could be deserving of a remake. How about that, Nintendo? And Metroid Other M was the latest game in the franchise in terms of new stories. But in between, a few of those games, and now, we have a couple of remakes. Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance, which was released after Metroid Fusion? Yeah, if memory serves me. And recently, the most recent one in 2017, we had the re-release of Metroid Samus Returns, which is a remake of Metroid, so The Return of Samus. And that had lots of much more quality gameplay added to it, such as the countermeasures and stuff like that. And I thought that was a pretty decent game, to be honest. So that's enough about the past of Metroid. Let's look to the future of it. Right, here we are, the future. To the future of Metroid. Right, what can I say? Well, we do now know that Nintendo are releasing Metroid Dread. That is out later this week, of the time of the recording of this video. And dare I say, I keep saying that should be my thing, dare I say, shouldn't it? Anyway, it should be, well, it's shaping up to be one of the best Metroid 2D titles there's ever been. And it's most pre-ordered, if my data is correct. And I've pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it from the second it was announced. And what can I say? The game, it really looks really good, the gameplay of it. And I cannot wait to play this. Right, that's enough about Metroid Dread, even though I'm looking forward to it like crazy. Giggling like a little schoolgirl. Let's talk about Metroid Prime 4, which is the continuation of, as you know, the Metroid Prime trilogy. I cannot wait for this game. It's currently being developed by Retro Studios. This is looking to be, I don't know, we can't really judge at this point because it's not they're not released any footage of it, and I really want to see some footage of it to make some sort of judgment on it. But whatever they decide, it's going to be good, because Retro Studios are a very good developer. They are fantastic, because Metroid Prime trilogy are awesome, and they did a good job with that. I can't see why they can't do a good job with Metroid Prime 4. But before that's all released, not many people have played the Metroid Prime trilogy, and I honestly think people should, and Nintendo should re-release it as a HD edition, which you see a lot of on YouTube. And quite frankly, I think Nintendo should release it as a gesture of goodwill to all those waiting for it. But Nintendo decide whatever Nintendo decide to do, don't they? So here's looking forward to some Metroid Prime information coming out this year, and I cannot wait to see what the Nintendo pull out the hat for this. And that's enough for me talking about Metroid. I really enjoy this franchise. It sparks its own genre, for God's sake. It's a very good franchise. The games are awesome, apart from Federation Force, obviously, which is an absolute pile of I'm not going to say. But I reckon these games have a lot of potential, and I think it deserves a lot more respect from the gaming community, to be honest. and it often gets overlooked by your Marios and your Zeldas and your Pokemon. Which, Mario is kind of good, but it's not that great. Pokemon is awesome, and no doubt about that. And Legend of Zelda is awesome. I mean, Breath of the Wild, I won't talk about Breath of the Wild, but that is a good game, that's awesome. But Metroid, I think, deserves to be up there, because we're not getting that many installments. I mean, the last main story Metroid game, well, new story, was Metroid Other M before Metroid Dread. And he only had one remake in between then and now. So Nintendo needs to start releasing more of these a bit more often. But as you know, Nintendo are perfectionists. But this series does have a lot of potential. But whatever Nintendo decide to do, I kind of trust them, because they don't release it until they're happy with it. So at the end of the day, you can't rush it out. And that's the end of my video. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much and watching. Bye bye. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.